everyone. It's another midweek, and today we have a very special guest. Dindean joins us from New York, where it's very late in the evening. But so we are very grateful to you, Din, for giving us this time. Din and I have been friends for 2 decades now, about 2 decades. I've known her through my sister, Pia, and we actually had the chance to also be housemates. We lived together in Singapore for quite a while. And I've always enjoyed breakfast with Din, where we would just talk about whatever it was happening in our lives and just pick each other's brains. I mean, those moments are really special. And I think now that she lives so far away, even if there's video calls and all that, it's still different. So I think this interview is special for so many reasons, but especially because I think you would benefit from hearing Din's story. So I guess we can start by asking Din to talk to us about her personal journey, about how she got from the Philippines to New York.
So, my journey from the Philippines to here, were all very surprising, actually. So I went to school with your sister. We went to, we studied the same thing, development education. Um, and then I moved to, no, sorry. So after graduating development education, we ended up being co-teachers in a preschool. So she was teaching kindergarten. I taught the toddler group, and that was the time, that 4 years that I spent in that school with her and our other friends,
Mm-hmm.
was really the time that I really fell in love with teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then, as you know, in the Philippines, it's not a very lucrative job,
Yeah.
and so um, at I think at 24, I decided to explore. There was an itch for me to explore outside of the country.
Okay.
And when since this is the funny thing too, like when you start thinking about those things,
Yeah.
suddenly opportunities begin opening up to you.
Yes.
And so at the time when I said, oh, I think it's a good time for me to explore outside the country, that Singapore is starting to open up its economy to professionals coming in. And so at the time, they were offering to foreigners this thing called employment eligibility certificate,
Oh.
wherein you apply online for free to
Mm-hmm.
the official
Yeah.
government website. And once granted, you are allowed to enter the country and stay there for 2 years looking for a job.
Nice.
And so when that opportunity opened, I was fortunate enough to have parents who were supportive of
Yes.
that that desire to explore outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so that opportunity came, moved to Singapore, migrated to Singapore with the original plan of just staying there a couple of years,
Yeah.
just to see how it goes. Because these things you can never really plan, right?
Yep.
And so luckily, Pia also moved there, and then some of my friends from way back, ever since I was in first grade, like really old friends, we all decided to move to Singapore at the same time. So that wasn't like, kind of, even if it was such a scary proposition, it kind of gave me some sort of calm, because I knew
Yeah.
I was going to be with people, even if it was a different country altogether.
Right.
And
Right.
the fact that it was so close to the Philippines
Yes.
was also another pull for me, because it's
Yeah.
like I don't have to travel so far if I feel homesick.
Yeah.
There's no time difference. So there were a lot of advantages to deciding to move to Singapore. And so I stayed there for 10 years. I got a job as a research assistant at a higher education institute. So it's essentially the institute where all the public school teachers and principals um, go through for training. because I was in Singapore and so earning Singapore dollars
Yes.
as a research assistant, I was able to travel to different parts of the world where
Yeah.
I really think that if I were still in the Philippines, I wouldn't be able to afford that
Yeah.
in a teacher's salary.
Yeah.
So that was another blessing that time. So it wasn't really like a career move. I was still in education. I was still in the field where I trained, but it wasn't like a career. And so
Yes.
at the
Yes.
end of that stint, of course you start thinking about like what value is this adding to my life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how am I contributing and using my gifts?
Yeah.
How am I using my gifts to really enrich other people's
Yeah.
lives? And I felt like, okay, this is not the place for me to do that. And even within the time when I was doing research, I would still get opportunities to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So I would teach English as a second language as well,
Yes.
just like on the side.
Yes.
At first it was more like, oh, I need an extra job so I don't have to, because I really want to travel more
Yeah.
and I don't want to scrimp on, like, get that from my regular salary. That's when I recognize, okay, this is something that I really want.
Right.
I feel like I'm being called to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so because there was a disconnect in the everyday thing that you're doing and the this call that you know has been planted in your heart,
Yes. Yes.
I felt towards maybe around like year 8, year 9, I'm like, no, this is not, I don't think I can stay here any longer. But I still had the contract, and so I was like, let me just stay a little bit longer and see where this leads me. When the opportunity opened for me to come over and teach here, um I knew I was ready to go,
Yeah.
because at that I was already at the time where I'm like, I've decided, oh, I want to be, if there's something that I really want to do for the rest of my life, I want to be better at being a teacher.
Right. Right.
And I knew at that, like, upon reflection, and also because you, of course, you, when you have these conversations with God, what are the things that I can do to really enrich other
Yeah.
people's lives, not just yourself, of course, but other
Yeah.
people's lives. And reflecting and praying and thinking, and then I realized I really do want to be a teacher. I want to be a better teacher. I'm not very good at it. At the time I wasn't very good at it. And so I knew there was still so much growth, and that's the kind of growth that I wanted to get into,
Yeah.
that I knew would enrich my life. It was such perfect timing too, because my contract was ending in June. I got the offer in May. A month before that. So I was interviewed April before that. I
Nice.
got
Yes.
offered the job in May. So they already had the timeline
Yeah.
for me to come over by August for training. So
Yeah.
I knew I had that 1 month in July to like pack up Singapore
Yeah.
and just like tie loose ends
Yeah.
and try and put everything in order before I moved to a different country,
Yeah. Yeah.
much farther from where I was
Exactly.
at the time. So it was kind of a gamble, but not really,
Mm.
because I there wasn't much that I was losing if I left Singapore.
Yeah.
So I was at the juncture where I was thinking, do I go back home,
Yeah.
or I do I go back home, or do I explore some more?
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then I was thinking, because this is the thing too with Providence. I already made the decision at the time that I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pack Singapore and then go back home and then figure out what I'm gonna do when I'm there,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm back home.
Mm-hmm.
The day that I decided that, was the day that I got the call from the school telling me, you're hired. We want you to come over in August. I was ready to tell my parents. And this is such a memorable day for me too, because that was their anniversary. And
Wow.
I knew that if I told them I'm coming home, they would be super happy. And so when I got the call that day, um, immediately after that, I called my parents to greet them on their anniversary.
Yes.
And then it broke the news to them that I'm like, oh, I got this offer. I got this offer in New York. How do you feel about that? Because that's the thing too. Um, when I make decisions in my life, I just feel better if I have the blessing of my parents.
Yes. Yes.
Like if they're also on board, I just feel more comfortable
Yes.
exploring the unknown, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
You just feel braver that way because you know they have your back, whether they're there physically or not.
True.
Just so
True.
like psychologically, oh, I know I have the support I need for me to be brave enough to try something new.
Yes. Love it. Yes.
And so this is also the funny part. My parents scheduled a trip over here in August so that we can all meet here. And then I got delayed. They were here for 3 months waiting for me. They were just traveling around. They were just like in the West Coast, and then they visited my sister. And they were here for 3 months. And then at the time when I finally got the visa approved, processed everything, they were on the way back to the Philippines. That was really funny. And so yeah, that's like the whole journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the whole journey.
That's so exciting, Din. And I love how really, even if you knew what you wanted to do, it's how it's you couldn't plan the details. You wanted to teach, right? And you wanted to explore the world. And then you were now afforded the fact that an opportunity opens halfway across the world where you get to travel, have your family around, and also teach. And I think you're
Mm-hmm.
you're really blessed that way. But I remember, Din, one of the things that I really vividly remember was your devotion to Our Lady of Perpetual Help.
Mm.
There were times when you would invite me and Pia, or even me when Pia already left Singapore, to a church in Singapore, right? Novena, where we
Mm-hmm.
would go and hear mass and pray to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Can you
Mm-hmm.
tell me how prayer has been such a part of your journey?
Gosh, it's so integral. It's always been it's always been a part of the whole process of like self-reflection, and especially not only when you're feeling lost, but
Yeah.
when you're feeling happy about something or
Yeah.
excited about something,
Yes.
because it can get swayed so easily by such extreme emotions.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I've always found solace and comfort whenever I go to a place where I can really just think.
Yeah.
And one of those places was in Singapore. There's a lot of places like that in Singapore, and like we have beautiful parks there.
True.
But that particular church, for some reason, and this was after the renovation too, because I was
Oh,
like, they
okay.
were closed for like a couple of years, I think, or even more. You can really visit the image in peace because there was construction and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But when they opened the church, and um, I knew that the image there was the miraculous image of the Our Lady of Perpetual Help. My sister gave me a few years ago. Oh, this was the time before I left Singapore. She gave me a prayer card of the Our Lady of Perpetual Help. That devotion has really helped me to calm my nerves,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that those would be the times when you're so restless and you just want things to move as like in your own time,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
But then God's time is never, it's not always your time.
True.
And so that's also like a huge lesson in humility,
Yeah.
because even if, like you said, even if you plan your life as detailed as you want it to be,
Yeah.
there's always going to be some roadblocks and challenges and unforeseen circumstances that you just have to navigate.
Yeah.
And when you're in those um, uncertain times, like especially for me, I've always retreated to a place of quiet,
Yeah.
and that particular place for me in Singapore was that church. Also, one of the reasons I think that I was so drawn to that particular place was because the homilies that I heard there were they were enlightening for me. And for some reason, every time it's a Redemptorist priest that gives the homily,
Yeah.
it just speaks to me.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's also one of the reasons why I was drawn to that place,
Right.
because I was hearing the things and processing it. The things that I was hearing was really helping me process
Mm.
the process the uncertainties and the anxiety that you're feeling for all the things that you're just not in control of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, like, that with my sister giving me the prayer card and that place being available and just giving me that space to
Yeah.
really think and really align myself with the
Yeah.
will of God. it
Yes.
was
Yes.
such a it was such a liberating experience for me too, because it's like, okay, you have this specific plan in your head, but it's not always gonna go your way. How are you gonna feel about it
Yeah. Yeah.
if it doesn't go your way? You know
Yeah.
how, sometimes
Yes.
it's true, especially with God, because you're thinking like, just give it to me. I know you can. And so that was such a good experience of like humility, because you're like, okay, this is, maybe I'm not yet ready to receive that grace.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Wow.
was me clinging on to the me clinging on to the Blessed Mother.
Wow. Beautiful,
Is really
Din.
one of the ways that, you know how it is when you're like, when you're when you're well, not really misbehaving, but you're not behaving the way you should be,
Yes.
and then your
Yes.
mom's there to like tell
Yes.
you, well, it's because it's like this, that's why
Yes.
this is happening.
Yes. Oh my
And so I
gosh.
felt
Yes.
that kind of, I I did feel that kind of like, how it is that you run to your mother and you're like telling your mom like, why can't I have this, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and then she'll tell you, well, it's like this.
Yeah.
It in the meantime you can do this. And so that was the thought process of the whole
Yeah.
thing, why I was so drawn to the place, because it's like,
Wow.
I'm running to my mom, but
Yes.
my mom wasn't there with me too. I
Yeah.
mean, I can talk to her anytime, but it was like um I can't even think of a word
Yeah.
that describes that, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's just really, for me, like me running to my mom and like
Yeah.
asking for
Yeah.
some consolation.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
another question, Din.
Hmm.
What was the most challenging part throughout your journey, I guess? What was the most challenging part for you, and how did you overcome it?
I probably have like
A few.
it's not always gonna go your way, and so that, for me, that was challenging because I knew I had, like, in my personality is like, if I want it, I can get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. If I wanted it, I can get it.
Yeah.
But then no, it's not always the case. You're gonna have to wait on this one. So you just have to wait for this grace to come at the time that you need it.
Wow.
That
Beautiful.
was the biggest lesson for me. Like, patience really is a virtue, because you
Yeah.
really gain so much from exercising exercising patience in your life. And that goes along with how you deal with people too.
Yeah.
It's like, like, you can't, like, I stopped being demanding of people. They're humans. You can't expect them to um give you the things that you need at the time that you need them.
Yes.
I think that was the most challenging part, just like not being in control of like the outcome of stuff,
Wow.
and just
Yeah.
waiting it out. That was the tough part, because it's like you're in a limbo. You're like,
Yeah.
do I go or do I not go?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if yeah. And so that was also such an exercise in humility, because you're like, I need help now. I need help from people.
Yeah.
Like, how do I survive the rest of the months that I'm not
Yeah.
earning
Yeah.
because I'm waiting for my visa?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you open yourself up to those graces too that other
Wow.
people
Yeah.
give you.
Yeah.
Those are also opportunities for them to receive that, to receive grace, because they're
Mhm.
being gracious to you. So it's
That's
like
true.
this whole cycle of like, it's just this so beautiful cycle of like, it's that's also the thing with me, because it's like I find it difficult to ask for help. Like
Yeah.
if I can figure it out on my own, I will do it.
Yeah.
Like it again with the control issue. But
Yeah.
then since I realized like you're not always gonna be in control. So you're
Yeah.
like, well, now I can ask. I feel more comfortable. I learned to be more comfortable asking for help, saying that I can't always rely on myself.
Yeah.
And so starting with opening myself up to that weakness
Yeah.
allowed God to
Yeah.
pour in his strength in me.
Wow.
It's a weird thing. It's when you show weakness in that sense, it's just fascinating how God can fill that emptiness
Right.
through the
Right.
people around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, allowing yourself to be that, to feel that weakness would really is also very helpful for the people around you to show you their strength.
Yeah. A lot of this is all about faith, and a lot of this is all about grace. So we're gonna walk our talk.
Which can be tough sometimes too.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Because that was what I was also going to ask you about. Like, um, people right now, like my clients, right? When I talk to them about letting go and letting God, it's
Mm-hmm.
such a challenge for them because, again, how much do I let go? And what is the guarantee that God will help me? There is no guarantee that you can hold on in your hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you deal with that? Like, how did you let go?
I don't think I ever shared this with you before, but I did have like a very visceral experience of how that felt like physically
Wow.
when I was just this wasn't even the time when I was supposed to move out of Singapore and like migrate to New York. And I was just like really having a rough time adjusting to stuff.
Yeah.
Still in Singapore, of course.
Yes.
And so when you have those I remember having that one night when I'm just like I can't take this anymore. I can't. And
Yeah.
really I was on my bed in
Yeah.
front of the altar
Yeah.
praying
Yeah.
and telling God, please take this from me
Wow. Yeah.
because I don't think I can take it anymore.
Yeah.
And I just felt this like warm
Yes.
warm feeling from
Yes.
my head just getting drained out of my body
Wow.
all the way to my toes.
Wow.
Just so like after hours of like crying and
Yeah.
then asking like out loud in
Yeah.
my room
Yeah.
during prayer,
Yeah.
please take this from me. I cannot take it anymore. That was the time that I really felt like you only need me in your
Wow.
life.
Wow. Wow. That's so
I'm the
beautiful.
only I'm the only I am the only person, I guess,
Yeah.
who can give you the comfort that you need. And so
Yeah.
that also became part of like how I changed how I deal with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you're not seeking comfort in other people anymore
Yeah.
because you know people have limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh, that's
so
awesome, Din.
it just enlarges your empathy as well because
Yeah.
you're like, okay, if you're always thinking about they're coming from something good.
True. True.
They're always like if you always look at it's always going to be like a positive intention coming from even if it was like a bit of an off rude behavior or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the like it was such a visceral experience for me, the draining of like the warm feeling that's just draining out of my body and then feeling
Wow.
so much more at peace with how even if it's such a difficult situation I was in,
Yeah.
it was gonna be fine in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. The comfort came and the
Yeah.
weight was lifted, no?
Yeah, and so the letting go piece, going back to your point, the
Yeah.
letting go piece of that is you really have to want it for yourself.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're just if it's just lip service, it's not because
Yeah.
you're not opening yourself up to that graces from God so that He can pour
Wow.
Himself to you.
So letting go, to really let go, not letting go cerebrally, and in your heart
Yeah.
you're still worried, or vice versa. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. That's really good. And I think going back to what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about when we were saying self-sufficiency.
Mm,
Self-sufficiency in the Catholic way is self-sufficiency always with God, always with our guardian angel, always with this
mm,
communion of saints that we know
mm.
are there to help pray with us. No? So
Yep.
I love
Mm,
it. I love it. As we wrap this up, Din, can you tell me, I guess, your thoughts and maybe messages to those who are in their mid 20s, right? When you think back when you were your younger self and you were still
mm.
discerning your call, what is your message to those who are still trying to figure it out?
Yeah, trust in your journey and trust in God's timeline.
Yeah,
Because that's the only way you can really feel the calm.
yeah,
I understand that in like any young person, you're always wanting to move things as fast as you can.
yeah,
That's just the restlessness of youth. It's
yeah,
natural.
yeah.
Developmentally, you're supposed to be feeling that way. But
Normal.
then also, while you're in that struggle, recognize that it's not gonna last.
Yeah, yeah,
If you allow yourself to go through that struggle with the end in mind that God will find a way for me to be where I need to be.
there you go, there you go. That's true. That's so true.
So recognize the struggle,
Yeah,
go through that process, but then also keep in mind that you have this God who's got your back, really.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you, I mean, I can't even like stress enough
yeah.
how comforting it is that we have our faith and understand it this
True,
way.
true, true.
Because I mean, with what's going on in the world, like
Yes,
nobody
yes,
knows what's gonna happen, really.
yeah. That's
Um, so feel that struggle,
yeah,
go through it, but also cling on the hope that in the end, God
yeah,
will find a way for you to
yeah,
be where you need to be.
yeah.
And it's always your journey. Don't compare yourself to other people. It's always your
Very
journey.
good. Very good. Very good. Because we're very aligned in that. I tell them that all the time. And I guess,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because really social media distorts that perception where they kind of feel like they have to measure to somebody else that they see, right? But also, right,
Yeah.
to your point in about just taking your time and understanding that there is a plan, taking that time to learn more about yourself, because in
Mm,
your case you felt it, you knew that teaching was your calling. And for
mm,
those who don't feel that calling, I think more reflection, more conversations with God, which is prayer, has to happen, right? So that they have a better idea of what they want in their lives in communion to what God wants for them in their lives too.
It still fascinates me how I got to where I am
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
With the things that happened in between and
Yeah.
how God has always been such a through the intercession of Mother Mary for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, to like to dodge the things that I dodged and also not feel broken for not
Yeah.
having the things that I want to.
Yes. Yes.
Because as I said, if you only seek comfort in God, you're fine. You're gonna
Yeah.
be fine.
That's true. That's true. That's so true. No matter what you feel like you're lacking, because that whatever you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're lacking sometimes streams from the fact that you're either comparing yourself with others, or that
Mm-hmm.
you've got this subliminal message from the world that you're supposed to be whatever, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
oh my gosh, but that's so true. I love it. I really am sure that a lot of the listeners are going to take so much away from your story, Din. I am so grateful that you allowed us to listen to everything that you wanted to share. If there is any question for Din, just pop it in the comments so she can also help reply and let us know. I'm sure Din will be more than happy to answer that. Take care, babe. I'll see you again
Thank
soon.
you. Thanks, everyone.